Hi guys! Welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new legal advice content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first one is titled, "My Mom is being sued over an estate that was left to her by a non-family member." The family is demanding a jury case. My mom and stepdad have loved camping ever since I can remember. Growing up, I can remember going to camp on the weekends with them. The land that they have a cabin on does not belong to them. Instead, it belongs to a friend who has allowed them to stay and hunt on their property as long as they take care of it, which they have for many years. The man who owned the property was very close with my stepdad and told him he would leave him 4 acres of his land when he passed. The total amount of acreage is about 25. This was told to him in 2016. In late 2020, the friend passed away and my mom and stepdad always assumed they would be left with the 4 acres of land he promised. When the family, children, of the deceased received the will, they apparently did not look at it at all. It wasn't until the wife of the deceased man figured out there might have been an error to the will. At this point it had been almost 9 months since his passing. She reached out to my stepdad and found out he was left with the entire 25 acres of land. There was no mistake on this will if you read it word for word. It specifically states the address of the estate and that it will be left to stepdad's name. Here is why I think it wasn't a mistake. The children of the deceased man live halfway across the country. They never visit this land, nor do they take care of it. My stepdad and mom live 2 hours away and they have spent every single weekend for as long as I remember taking care of it, and the deceased man knew this. I think he purposely left it to my stepdad knowing it would be used and taken well care of. Unfortunately, the lawyer who wrote up the will for him has also passed, but I think the witnesses are still alive. When the children reached out to my stepdad, they tried to say he was only supposed to leave this much land and demanded for it back. My stepdad refused, being afraid that he would lose it all if he gave it to them. They gave the family a 35-day notice to remove their things from the house on the land, so that they could move their things from the cabin to the house. The family did not respond, nor did they come and remove their things. The lawyer who signed the deed when the probate period closed told them they do not have to give the family anything because it now belongs to them. They've since been staying at the house on the land instead of the cabin we've always stayed in. Recently they found out they are being sued by the children and the wife of the deceased man is also being sued separately. They are claiming that the deceased man was coerced and forced to sign the will to my stepdad's name, which is not true. They also are trying to say the man was not in his right mind enough to have been able to make the decision, which is also not true because he signed it back in 2016 before he was even sick. The children were left with about $1 million apiece from him but are still livid about this piece of land for which they do not visit, nor do they take care of. I personally do not think they have a case because they cannot prove any of their allegations. My family does not come from money, therefore, my mom has had a hard time coming up with money for the lawyer. I think the children know this and that is why they are trying to sue, hoping that my family just doesn't have the money to move forward. What they don't know is that my stepdad's mother has inherited a ton of money and is basically paying for it all, so they will be moving forward. I am still confused as to why the children are demanding a jury case, in which I don't even feel like they have a case. Like I mentioned above, they didn't even read the will and just let it go, and now it's been almost a year since he even passed. So, I'm just wondering what everyone's opinions are on this situation. Obviously, I am biased to my family, so I would like to hear some outside perspective. This is in the US and thank you for reading my long post. ETA 1. My family has received the deed to the land already because probate period ended, and no one knew about this situation until after it had ended due to neglecting to read the will. Update. I talked to my mom. She had a meeting with her lawyer today and it sounds like they are able to freeze the prosecuting family's trust due to them contesting the will. The lawyer thinks we have a good case and he's demanding proof from them that coercion happened. I'll update more as I hear more, but thank you all so much for your helpful responses. I did tell her a lot of what I learned here today, and it pretty much matched up with what her lawyer told her. Update 2. Hey guys, I just wanted to give you all an update since a few people were asking. First of all, I wanted to thank this sub for all of their advice and help. Yesterday my mom received a call from her lawyer that the family is now trying to propose a settlement for my mom and stepdad to take the originally promised 5 acres and for the family to have the rest of the property. They obviously said no, especially after everything they just put them through. So, her lawyer is going to move to dismiss the case, and since it's obvious they don't have evidence, we feel like it will be just fine in the long run. My mom was also recently diagnosed with a long-term illness and is currently undergoing chemo, so I'm happy that this is just one less thing she has to worry about. Thanks again for all of your help, guys. The next one is titled, Landlord's daughter entered my home without permission, snooped, and verbally harassed me. Connecticut. So, I've had an interesting day. This all happened a few hours ago and I'm still processing and trying to figure out how to proceed. I live in an apartment that is a 2-story house with stairs between levels and the basement level being essentially a mother-in-law suite. I live in the basement. My landlord lives in the upper level, and we have a private rental through her. Her daughter, we'll call her Hilda, is a realtor and set up the rental page for her mom on Trulia, but we do not rent through her company. It is private through the landlord, with only the landlord's name on the lease. The pipes under the sink were leaking, so when I saw landlord this morning, I asked her if the plumber was coming soon. She said Friday. I told her we couldn't do dishes and it would be great if someone could come sooner, but if not, we would make do. She said she would make some calls and see what she could do. Okay, I went out for a walk with my grandmother. I come home and all of my doors are wide open. I panic, because I wasn't expecting anyone, and my cat is indoor only and has been sick recently. I ran in, saw Hilda. Also, weird because I was told no one but my partner and I had keys to the apartment, and started asking if anyone was in the apartment and if she'd seen my cat. She said no, that he was probably still in there. For the record, he's only a year old and often gives me the slip. She wanted to talk and tried to get me to stay, but I was so scared for my cat I ran in the home and asked her to please wait a few minutes while I looked for him. She said no, and tried to barge in. My grandma blocked her and said no, you can't come in, she needs a few minutes. All the while a poor, terrified plumber looked on. Hilda lost it. She almost attacked my grandmother physically to push her out of the way. I found my cat hiding in the closet and came outside to address the hubbub. I noticed that there is a stranger with Hilda too, I'll call her Gertie. I found out later she is Hilda's much older daughter. And Hilda's young son. Hilda tears into me. She's in mine and my grandmother's face, screaming obscenities. Saying she has every right to go in the house because it's her mother's house, and I'm a filthy pig who should be ashamed of myself. I'm really confused at this point. She's screaming obscenities, saying I'm taking advantage of her mother and making personal attacks on my character. And then she tells me all 3 of them have just taken an extended tour of my apartment. They looked through everything. After telling me earlier that they'd just gotten there, made some comments about my altar. I am pagan and have a small shelf with tarot cards, statues, and candles, my video games. They went into my bathroom and my bedroom and went through my things. Then Gertie chimed in and the 2 of them were saying things like, "Is this normal for you? Is it okay for you people to live this way? You're sick. You're disgusting. My home is pristine, so I can't understand your type." I'm still not following. So, I speak for the first time asking calmly and politely after a 15-minute rant. What mess they're talking about. Aside. I do have a decent number of things, but there is no biological mess, no fire hazards, no cat waste, and most of the things are neatly organized. They tell me the apartment reeks and they want to evict me and make me pay. And they said there was cat piss everywhere. There was not. The floor is 8 years old and was spotty when I got here, and there is a wet patch near the entry because I just vacuumed, and steam cleaned the carpet and was trying to clean the spots. Eventually they agreed to leave, and my actual landlord came home. The landlord agreed with Hilda without even looking at the place. I invited her in, showed her, and she says it's terrible. Again, there is no mess, some clutter, but it's not dirty and I just cleaned. She talked down to me and said it was unacceptable and she used to inspect military housing and I would fail an inspection and got mad that I didn't want to let her into my bedroom. I asked what she meant, and she couldn't tell me. The best she could come up with was there are some boxes on the floor, like 4 cardboard Home Depot boxes, and she didn't like them, and she thought it smelled odd. Which, it always does, it's a freakin' basement. She said I had till the end of the week to fix it, or she would evict me, and then she left. I'm reeling and crying at this point because it's as though I've entered Bizarro World. My fiancé rushed home and had words with her. She agreed the carpet wasn't our fault, and she didn't think the same things were bad as Hilda did. Also, for the record, she's never before asked to see the home. She extended the time to next week sometime and wants it cleaner or something. I checked our lease, and there's nothing about cleanliness or organization, aside from not violating the health code. I don't know what she wants because it looks clean to me and she didn't specify anything, just that it's not organized the way she likes it. We also found out during this that she's been spying on us through our windows and doors and listening to everything that happens in the apartment. She told us this. And that she's planning on legally giving the house to Hilda soon. Now, I've been vacuuming, steam cleaning all the windows for fall, and the house is not that messy. Her house is a lot messier than mine. I'm just feeling like she is being so hypocritical by holding me to these odd, unreasonable, unspecified standards and getting mad when I don't meet them, and before this was passive-aggressively talking to Hilda without talking to us at all. I feel so violated right now and don't know what, if any, my legal recourse is or should be. What do, Reddit, small edit. Landlord also admitted she held grudges against us for not wanting to mow her lawn and was still upset I declined her offer to do it. And keeping some boxes in a storage shed she has for our use that hold electronics, and that these things made her feel negatively towards us. Small edit 2. I remembered she also told me she didn't like that I had furniture in odd places and wouldn't hear it when I told her I had been vacuuming and moved some things to the side to be able to clean thoroughly. And the vacuums are still sitting out. Update. Thank you everyone for all of your advice. I have begun documentation of my home and conversations. I'm also planning on seeing a lawyer to ask for advice and go over the terms of the lease to see if anything is in violation of the law, and to have someone to send her official notices. I'm contacting the lawyer today to send the landlord written notice that we don't want Hilda anywhere near or in our home, and furthermore that she must relinquish her key to the home. Landlord lied to us originally and admitted yesterday that Hilda has a key. I also filed a police report against Hilda for her behavior. This is where things got kind of interesting. I didn't know that I wasn't gonna go down to the station. An officer came right up to my door. We talked for a while. He told me to definitely call them next time and agreed that it was a great idea to document everything in case of dire straits later. However, because he showed up in a cruiser, my landlord took notice and came down to sort of listen to what we were saying and interrupted by loudly yelling, "Is this a private conversation?" I went inside and the officer spoke to her, which I dunno, she wasn't there, and the complaint was against Hilda, not the landlord. When I was asked to come back out, we talked some more. I explained there had been no emergency, and of course landlord is listening to all this as she doesn't have the courtesy not to eavesdrop, and we finished up and he started to walk off. Landlord approached us and the cop swung back around to watch us interact. I can't even begin to relay the depth of buffoonery I witnessed. She is completely ignorant of the law. She claims to have been a landlord for 20 years or something, and she thought she could come into my home anytime she wanted because it was my home. The officer actually chimed in and was like, "Actually ma'am, they're right. You can't just come in, you do need to give notice." She also tried to play it off like she did us a huge favor and it had been an emergency and she paid the plumber a lot to come out, $70. I said it definitely wasn't an emergency, and the officer agreed, said it didn't sound like an emergency. And then she said the house had to be clean by Tuesday or she would kick us out. The officer told her, "Ma'am, you can't do that either. You have to go through the eviction process. You can't just kick people out." Eventually he seemed satisfied she wasn't going to do anything drastic and left. And of course, after he left, she offered to give us a month-to-month lease so we could break it. Not gonna do that because she could evict us quickly. I would definitely go to court first. And then she proceeds to tell us that she suspected something was off and had reasonable cause to search the house. This is the most ludicrous part, her reasonable cause? We never have friends over. And never invited her in for coffee or anything. That was her real reason. She called us weirdos for not having company over to our tiny apartment. She said, "Aside from this, socially, don't you think that's just weird?" No. And she never asked to come in the home or anything, she just wanted to be invited in. And then she said she and Hilda had spied on us through our windows on purpose to look in and see what we were up to. We told her that's illegal. It was a massive exercise in idiocy. She doesn't know the law one bit. Oh, and this is where she told us Hilda, a non-affiliated party, has a key to the home. She seemed scared by seeing the police, and that he agreed with us and was in violation of our rights. She honestly didn't seem to know she was doing anything wrong. So now we've told her we're comfortable if she wants to inspect the home on Tuesday evening. I also asked her to put in writing what her complaints were so that we could address them. She said she needed to come back in the home to check on what they were. We said no. Then she said, just clean it. Which is super vague because it is clean, just not organized in a way she would want it. She said her main complaint yesterday was, you have too many things, which I'm pretty sure she can't dictate. As we are meeting health code laws, no abject filth, and nothing is causing damage to the home. So, she's coming on Tuesday. During a home visit, is she allowed to go into my bedroom? This is the area she wants to see most because Hilda told her there was a pile of clothes on the ground, but it is still my bedroom. I'm worried she'll try to bring Hilda along. I'm also going out on Saturday and LL knows it, and Hilda will probably be over. Fearing a break-in, I'm having someone house sit, but any good ideas for booby traps or ways to catch that they've been in the home if my sitter has to run out for errands? Thanks for listening.